I think the thing is, God's bringing us to that crossroad where we have to not only as leadership say this is the way we're going, but God wants every one of us to be in step and say this is where we're going. And this week it was pretty frustrating, to say the least. A week ago today, I was sitting in that same woods that God told me to take the 5-gallon bucket to. And that's the only time that I've hunted that woods since that time. Kind of stayed out of there, just I don't know why, just had. That morning, as I was driving from where we camped at to that hunting spot, I got a call from Amanda, my niece. She calls me maybe 3 times a year.
This is just last Sunday?
That was last Sunday. And she just wanted to talk. And I think she's at a crossroads. And God's, she took the wrong path. And she's been running down the wrong path for a while. And I think God's bringing her back. And but it has to be a choice that she has to make. And just like it's a choice that each of us has to make. So I wasn't quite sure what God had in mind whenever I went back to that same spot. Last week, I messed up my knee at work right at the end of the day, Friday, and or Thursday, and so I was not walking very well, and that caused me to mess up my back a little bit. So I really wasn't walking well. And to get to this particular hunting spot, because we didn't stay at the cabin, meant about a 600-yard walk. And so I went back there and sat down in a good spot, and lots of sign for big deer, just where you think you'd need to be. And it was really windy. The only noise that I heard other than the wind in that woods all day long were trees falling down. I tried praying, God, what do you have for me to share next week? And all I got was silence. And it was, I take it back. No, there were a couple other things, mostly all silence. Well, my son has a saying about me. He says, I don't hunt deer, I hunt naps in the woods. And deer are just the reason I go out. And there's something to be said for a good nap in the woods. And so I started, sitting there all quiet, wind blowing. It was a nice warm day. I started drifting off, and just as I started to drift off, I heard an audible noise behind me. Said, Douglas. Well, I only get Douglas whenever I'm in trouble. And it's been that way ever since I was a little kid. And needless to say, I was awake instantly, and but it was quiet the rest of the time. And God didn't really have a whole lot that he wanted to say, but he wanted me to be alert. And I think that's part of the thing, is that he wants us to be alert, to know that when those crossroad moments come up, that we're ready for them. And we don't have to always God shouldn't always have to tell us everything to do. It should be ingrained in us that we just do it, and that we stand alert and we're ready. In Ephesians 6, it talks about putting on the whole armor of God. And at the end of it, after you're all suited up, he says, doing all that you can do to stand therefore.